Hey guys, welcome to She Knows Arsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host, and you can follow me on Twitter at It's Jacinho. Well, we're doing the post-match show today. It's earlier than usual because I have some other things to do later on today. But nevertheless, we're going to, just kind of talk about the game, and how great it was. I mean, I feel like we have to, what's it called? Just kind of lean into this a little bit longer because I know we have some bigger fixtures coming up, in the next coming weeks now that we've, went on to the semifinals, but just want to spend some more time on this particular game because I think that there's a lot to unpack here and there's a lot to think about. And of course, we'll get into the whole Unai Emery thing as well as talk about Fulham, what we need to do this weekend. And those sort of things. So you guys just let me know how you're feeling, this morning/afternoon. It may be morning for you. It may be, afternoon, but nevertheless, it's Friday, so how are you guys doing on this Friday? Let me know. I just want to pull up something really quick. If you guys just give me a second, but yeah, just let me know in the chat how you guys are feeling about the game. Are you still buzzing? Because I know I am. I rewatched the game and I just thought, wow, like we actually really played well. And do you guys think that this was our best performance of the season? We've had some good ones. Leeds comes to mind. The Leicester game comes to mind. In terms of performances, but I think this might have been our best performance of the season. Do you guys agree with that? Yeah, I wanted to pull up the standings really quick. Okay. So when I rewatched the game, I really thought that what was really interesting about it was the formation and the fact that Arteta was bold enough to, go back to something that he had only tried once, against Sheffield United. And it completely took me by surprise. If you guys were here for my match preview, basically none of what I had predicted was correct, So I was totally wrong. When you're trying to predict the future, like it's really difficult because you just don't know, but I had predicted that he would kind of revert back to Cedric at left back, make sure that Xhaka was in the midfield to make sure the midfield was still strong and those types of things. And it was completely different. And I think that it worked, for this particular game, it worked. And it looked really, really good. When I was listening to the Insta reaction for Arsenal Vision, they were kind of talking about the formation and, it's kind of difficult to figure out because, everybody was kind of switching positions. The front four was really, fluid, and it was like that against Sheffield, but it was a little bit different. Essentially, it's just a 3-3-4, which I think is interesting. We build up in a 3. That's usually Xhaka on the same line as Marie and Holding, and then Chambers moves up into that second line and creates a midfield 3 with Danny Ceballos and Partey, and then the front 4 is Emile Smith-Rowe, Saka, Lacazette, and Pepe. And I thought that really worked. I would like to see that moving forward. Maybe, some different variations of it. But I've really always liked the combination of Lacazette, Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, and Pepe. Every time that we've used that combination or some sort of variation of that combination, I think it's really, really worked and it suited us. And we played well when we've done it. It's just so interesting to see how well the team connected and how it clicked, missing such influential players in the side like Louise and Tierney, Aubameyang and Odegaard, so I don't think that that's necessarily, a ding on those players. Like, we know those players are really important for us, but what the best thing is that now we know that there's a system that we can play that's successful, without some of our key players. So we don't have to feel so anxious when those players are not available. See what you guys are saying. New Dawn Game said, play some footy this morning, felt pumped. What position do you play? Let me know. Tony says, just had my coffee, feeling good after this dominant win. I mean, we have to lean into this, you guys. I mean, you just never really know. So when we play well, let's just, kind of live in it for a second and just be excited and just take it for what it is. New Dawn says, we were better against Chelsea and Tottenham, in your opinion. Okay. I mean, those are interesting points. I think the only thing about the Chelsea game for me is that I thought we played well, but I thought that they were pretty bad, so I kind of just take that as like the game that, ignited this new, formation or forward line that we're seeing now, because I think in that game, what do we have? Smith Rowe, Saka, Martinelli, and Lacazette, and from there we were able to see something different and see the progression. Against Tottenham, yeah, I think because it was our rivals, it was a really, really good game. We came back from behind, and I did like Odegaard in that game. I thought he had a good game, and of course he scored a goal, but for me, just with the pressure, there was a lot of pressure on this game. Just imagine what this morning/afternoon would have felt like if we had not won that game and not went through, so I think just the magnitude of the situation makes me feel like this game was our biggest performance, but the Tottenham game was another really big one. Raleigh Jr. says Saka is world class. Yeah. Saka to me is just one of those players where, I hate to compare him to anybody else because he's our special player. And I think what I really liked about his game yesterday was how he was trying to make a point, to maybe the Arsenal fans or just people in general, or just to himself, that he has end product and he can score goals. That's always been the question. Is he's a really good connector. He can get assists, and he's quick and a tricky player, but does he have the end product to be one of the best forwards in the league? And I think he's showing that ruthlessness, and he definitely showed it yesterday with the shot that went off of the post for Emile Smith-Rowe's goal that was eventually, chalked off because of offside, and the goal that he scored from behind the goal. It was so interesting. Like, they showed it from the goalkeeper's perspective, and I don't know if this might be something that all forwards do. I don't care. It's something that I saw Saka do, so I'm going to act like he's the only person that has ever done it before. But he gave him the eyes. He showed the goalkeeper to his right-hand side. And so the goalkeeper thought he was going to go there. And then he did almost like a reverse shot into the left-hand corner. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And if Saka can continue to add goals to his game, I think he has really such a high ceiling. Femi says, Jacino, I'm feeling great. Still buzzing, Jess, but have got 30 more minutes of my break. Yeah. So, I mean, we're almost at the weekend, so I don't know if you work weekends as well, but hopefully this will get you through, some of your break, and you have a good rest of your day. Matt G says, hey, Jess, I agree. Think it was our best game this season. The players and manager knew the pressure that was on them and rose to the challenge, made fans proud. They really did. I have nothing to complain about. I mean, even in games where we played well, like the Spurs game, we went down, in those games. Slavia Prague didn't have any answers for what we were doing. I liked our game management as well, just really slowing the game down, systematic fouls or whatever on the halfway line. I loved everything about it. I have nothing to really complain about, clean sheet, 4 goals. Like, what can you really say about that performance? Chris said, what do you think about the tactical reasoning behind Chambers playing? Thought he played well, was surprised to see Gabriel on the bench. So this is something that I did want to kind of bring up, was the back line. And whether or not we need to continue on. So let's just start off with the center back pairing. I thought that Arteta would revert back to Gabriel being in the back line. I don't think he played well in the first leg against Slavia Prague. That being said, I think he's our best defender in terms of talent, but as a central defender, it's almost about the sum of its parts rather than the individuals. And if the partnership does not work, then it becomes problematic, and it almost makes it not matter whether or not you're a better defender or not. I've always complained about Holding and Gabriel and the fact that I feel like they're the weakest partnership of all the partnerships that we have. And it's just a shame that, Gabrielle and Marie are both left-footed, because I think that that's pretty much the reason why we'll never really see them together. Gabrielle spoke about how Marie and him have a really good, relationship, and how they talk about how they can play better, but they pretty much only play for each other. So I think it's kind of known that there will never be a two left-footed, center back pairing at Arsenal, at least for now. And he also spoke about how it's difficult for him and Holding to communicate, which has been something that I think a lot of Arsenal fans have, hypothesized, for why they don't play well together. So if it's the lack of being able to communicate, that's a big deal with a center back pairing. Seeing Holding and Marie together again just kind of gave me that feeling of comfort, like they really get each other and they work really well together. And I'm wondering if we should continue on with that center back pairing moving forward in the Europa League, since Luiz is not going to be back. Gabrielle really plays well with Luiz, and I think that that's our starting center back pairing if Luiz is fit. But if he's not, then is the best center back pairing Holding and Marie, and should we just keep that together for the remainder of the Europa League to keep that continuity and that chemistry going? Let's see. And you also asked about Chambers and what the tactical reasoning could be behind him playing. I think it's a combination of something going on with Bellerin and the fact that, Bellerin, he hasn't been in the best form. And I think Arteta trusts Chambers. If you guys remember when Arteta first came to Arsenal, his initial center back pairing, I believe, was Chambers plus Luiz, I believe, something like that. But I remember Chambers was a part of that initial center back pairing when Arteta first came to the club. And until Chambers obviously got that horrific injury. I think Arteta just trusts Chambers. He knows what Chambers is all about. He knows what he's going to get from him. Of course, he has his limitations, but I feel like all of our right backs have really big, obvious limitations, and none of them probably long term or what we need to move, us forward, as a club. But I think Chambers, the tactical reason why Arteta likes him is because he's more physical. Slavia Prague are a pretty physical team. They didn't really show that yesterday because we just pretty much dominated the game, but they're a pretty physical team. So maybe Arteta felt as though Chambers would give us that level of physical, that physical attribute that we don't really have with Cedric or Bellerin. And also just the fact that I think Chambers has a good cross on him. When he gets up there, he usually makes it count. I think Bellerin can be a little wasteful. He gets more opportunities in the final third, but he doesn't really take advantage of them per se. And Chambers is a better player playing in that midfield line. So how we kind of talked about earlier, we set up in in possession as a 3-3-4, and Xhaka is a third center back on the left-hand side. Chambers moves into that second line and becomes a right-sided center midfielder. He's the best of our midfielders. I'm sorry, the best of our fullbacks to play in that position. And I think that's the main tactical reason for why he's playing, is because when you look at Cedric and you look at Bellerin, they're more traditional right backs. They like to bomb forward and overlap. Whereas because Chambers has played, a CDM role in the past, he has a little bit more about him to be able to play in that midfield line. And I figure that's pretty much the reason why he plays there, besides the fact that he's in form and Bellerin is not. And Cedric is just, Cedric, so those are my assumptions. May not be true. Let's see. What are you guys saying? AK Gunner 49 says our semifinal first leg is away against Villarreal, so it's important that we get at least 2 away. Villarreal are not high-scoring teams, so it's important to attack them like Slavia Prague. Yeah, for sure. We'll get into that in a couple seconds, just talking about Unai Emery and Villarreal, but those are some really, really good points. Yoya says the quality of the opposition and the club's history in the competition means that no result in the Europa should be praised greatly until reaching the final, in my opinion. I don't think it's necessarily about praise. I think there's, the expectations of being at a certain level that would make it like, okay, well, let's not get carried away. But I think game by game, you need to take a moment to just enjoy what it is for what it is without overthinking it and being like, well, we're supposed to be in the final, so who cares, or we've been underachieving for years, so who cares, I think ultimately we have to accept where we are at the moment. And when the players play well, you know, decipher that, go into it, analyze it and give it this due praise that it deserves, without always picking it apart and saying, well, we're supposed to do that. At this point, our Arsenal is a mid-table team. So the expectations of us being at a certain level don't really make sense and don't add up to me, because the team at this moment can't really adhere to those expectations. It's not going to get there. So, the idea that, well, we're supposed to be a Champions League team, so any win in, the Europa League that's not in the final doesn't matter, doesn't really sit well with me. So, but I get that some people just, if it's not the final, it doesn't matter, but that's just not how I think about it. I'm going to give my boys praise regardless, to be honest. Let's see. AK Gunner says, Emery is going to play a low block for sure, and he will be targeting 0-0 in the first leg. So it's critical we play a very attacking team, 2 goals minimum. All right, so let's just go ahead and move on to this, because I think you guys are interested. Let's see. Oh, I see a comment from FK. Says, easy Jess, FK here. How does today feel? It feels good. No, I'm just saying that, like, okay, so back, Yo-Yo knows I love Yo-Yo, and we go back and forth all the time. Yo-Yo is one of the best people in the streams, always good questions, good comments. But, my thing is just, I have to give my boys praise regardless to if it's expected or not. It's not about going overboard and saying like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever, but sometimes you have to just compartmentalize things. The overall scale of Arsenal, we're not anywhere near where we should be historically for this club. But as just a game by game basis, just looking at Arsenal versus Slavia Prague in that particular leg, I think it's okay to give them a little bit of praise for that, with the expectation that we should be doing better anyway. You know what I mean? So that's all. Yo-Yo knows I love you, I love you, Yo-Yo, for sure. Let's see. Yeah, so let's talk about Unai Emery. It was written, wasn't it? It was written. We knew we were going to get him at some point in this competition, and semifinal is a good place to start. There. Again, I don't think any leg is straightforward, just because they're in a different league, or maybe we don't, on paper, the team doesn't seem as talented as us. We know that games are not played on paper, so we have to be aware that other teams can hurt us. At this moment, Villarreal is in 7th, so about mid-table in La Liga. Again, they don't score a lot of goals, but they're pragmatic, and they will do Unai Emery things. Unai is very successful in this competition. He's won 3 consecutive editions of the Europa League with Sevilla in 2014, 15, and 16. And of course, because we were there, we know that he got to the final with us in 2018, 2018. So we'll see how this goes. I think the key to this game, as you guys have already kind of pointed out, is that we need to play an attacking team, because I don't see them going after us. I think that he'll look at it, and as you guys have already said, he'll play for the 0-0. And so we need to be attacking. What does that look like to you guys? What does an attacking Arsenal side look like? Because for me, the players that played yesterday were attacking, but that doesn't really include Aubameyang and Odegaard, who are 2 of our best players. So again, I think Arteta has some big decisions to make moving forward. Do we play what works, or do we get some of our better players involved in these legs? If we're playing in a low block, or if Unai Emery's playing in a low block, wouldn't it be nice to maybe have Odegaard in there if he's fit? We'll see. Belbashwan says, hey, Jess. Hey, Belbashwan. Hope you're doing well. Yo-Yo says, favor the proven relationships. Arteta has failed to do this all season. Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about this before, that I prefer chemistry over the name of a player or what the player can do. So everything about football is about partnerships and relationships and chemistry. And it's about the sum of its parts, not the individuals per se. And I do think that in certain instances, an individual can do something brilliant, and win a game on their own. But I think the best way forward is to make sure that the sum of our parts is good. And I really think that the combination of Pepe, Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, and Lacazette has shown that it's really, really dangerous. And when we veer away from it, we're not as not as good. You can add other pieces in it like Martinelli or Odegaard, but I really think the cog or the wrench in that, like when you throw Aubameyang in there, everything kind of changes. So Arteta needs to take that into consideration, but I think he has made big decisions in the past about dropping, certain players that maybe don't fit, and I think Arteta will think about winning more than placating certain players, so I'm not really afraid that he won't make the big decisions. I just am wondering what those big decisions will be. Yo-Yo says, Amen was so poorly advised by his inner circle. What do you mean by that, Yo-Yo? Tell me more about that. Matthew Hudson says, Hola, Bellerin used to overlap, not anymore, but he just cuts in or passes backwards. That might just be a look forward to what Arteta really wants from his right back. He may not want an overlapping right back because Tierney does most of the overlapping and on that kind of stuff on the left-hand side, so maybe he's looking for a right back that can tuck in a little bit more like Kyle Walker or Cancelo. Bellerin doesn't have the skill set to be successful in that position long-term. So I think that that's an outside recruitment that we'll need to look at in the summer. Callum Chambers does do a good job at it for the time being, though. New Dawn Game says, Villarreal looked very good against Dinamo Zagreb. They will be our toughest opponent yet. There's zero room for errors. No, there isn't. No room for errors. And, of course, I'm going to go back and watch Villarreal play in some of their Europa League games and maybe a league game to just kind of see what they're all about. And we'll do an obvious little, what to expect from Villarreal moving forward. But we can't take anybody lightly, and Arsenal have a tendency to make big errors, and not make it difficult for the other team. Let's not make it easy on them. Make them work, for their goals. Machane says, yeah, I mean, Slavia is a massive club, probably biggest in Europe. I don't know if you're being facetious or not, but yeah, I think Slavia Prague is a really, they're a good team and they're obviously really confident, but no matter who we really had out there, whether it was Odegaard or Aubameyang, we should have always had enough to beat them. And I think the first leg was really just us bottling, the second leg really showed, the levels, and I hope that we can continue to, impose ourselves on teams moving forward. Yo-Yo says, if fans are back in the stadiums, that may influence the tie, although it didn't help Slavia much. I mean, what was that? Did they have, what was that? Were there fans in the stadium? What was that? It just felt like there was a lot of noise coming from their stands. I wasn't really paying attention because I was paying attention to us, but I just heard Slavia fans. I'm like, is that coming through the thing or did they have fans there? What the heck? New Dawn Game says they have good players, good technique, and sharp going forward. The midfield and flank battles will be crucial. That's a good point. I haven't watched a lot of them. I watched them initially when Unai Emery got there to just kind of see what he was doing. And I'm sure a lot has changed since he's been there. He's probably Unai Emery'd the team a little bit. So we'll see. I will definitely do a scouting report, but this is some good information already, you guys. It's all about partnerships and team balance. And I think that that's what we're saying. Like me and Yo-Yo and you, AK Gunner, I think we all can agree that the partnerships and the team balance is more important than anything. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. What's been working for us is making sure that we have the balance, we have runners in behind, we have technical players involved and people that can beat their man. And, I think there's certain partnerships that just work. And I really think that our best players, some of our most technically gifted players, Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe in particular, really play well with Lacazette. and Lacazette plays really well with them, so I'd like to see that continue on. You guys are so funny in the comments. Yo-Yo says, football teams are like a lot like a jigsaw. Arteta has forced Aubameyang, Willian, Hecky B into the side for too long. Yeah, I mean, I really do agree with this. I think that, and of course, like, this is not to say that these players are not good players, so I just want to caveat what I'm saying with, I'm not saying that they're not good players and they don't have value and they haven't done well for us in the past, except for Willian. He hasn't been good for us at all. But when you find things that work, you don't want to break it apart just to force people or shoehorn people in. The last thing I want to see is Aubameyang off of the left, so that we can keep him and Lacazette inside. And ultimately, Aubameyang really only plays well when Odegaard, Smith Rowe, and Saka are in behind. So if any of those three are not available, I would tend to lean more towards Lacazette because he's also in form. And you just continue playing the in-form player. The Emperor of the the universe. Yeah, for sure. You guys, I need more coffee because that was kind of obvious. Good morning, Jess from Seattle. Good morning to you as well. Attacking for me means getting players who have good abilities to move with the ball, dribbling and passing. That's what we really saw yesterday. But that didn't include certain players. That's what it's not really an issue, but that's where it's going to get interesting. Does Arteta try to shoehorn other players in, because they are better players, or whatever, but we were dribbling past players yesterday. Our passing was good and crisp, one touch, we look confident, and I want to see that moving forward. Let's see. Villarreal have 3 games before they play us. We only have 2. And their last game before the semis is on Sunday against Barcelona. Ours is on Friday. Maximizing that advantage will be crucial. So we're talking about making sure that we have players rested. What games do we have then as well? Let me look at our schedule real quick, because that's going to be important. We're still mathematically in a position where we could qualify for Europe through the league, although unlikely. I do think Arteta will continue to play strong teams all the way through. I don't see him really prioritizing, rotating greatly in these last games. So, yeah, we play Everton, which, although they've slid in the last couple of weeks because they've had some injuries to key players. Besides Chelsea, this is pretty much one of our more difficult games going into the end of the season, but I do think we might want to really rotate as much as we possibly can. I think we have a good enough squad where even if we don't play we're going to have to, I would say, rest like Saka in that Everton game, rest Emile Smith Rowe in that game, bring in Martinelli, bring in, some players like that and see what happens against Everton. But, we have to give everything we can in this away leg, don't we, against your Villarreal on Thursday, and kind of put the tie away. So key players like Saka, Emile Smith Rowe, and probably Lacazette need to be rested in that game. But what would that say to Aubameyang if you played him against Everton before the Europa League tie that next week? Some big decisions to be made. Let's see. Emperor of the Universe says Arteta trusts Saka and ESR because they have proven time and time. Yeah, trust is really big with Arteta. And I think certain players get more trust than others initially from probably what he sees in practice. And then what he sees, in the games just kind of confirm that or, whatever. And I hope, I know he trusts ESR and Saka, which he should. But I really hope that he trusts Pepe moving forward. I think Pepe has done nothing but pretty much good, since Boxing Day. And since he's played more, he really hasn't even played that often. He gets little roles here and there and maybe starts a game here and there, but when he's been out there, he's been dangerous. He's added to our goals. I think Pepe has earned the right to have more playing time and earn more trust from Arteta, and so I'd like to keep that relationship going, instead of, pulling him out to maybe put Aubameyang in, And Pepe off of the left is something else. I like him off of the right, but off of the left, the kid is a killer. I think because it just gives him the ability to be more direct, and he doesn't have to try to, move the ball from his right foot to his left. It just makes him so much more unpredictable, and he was a menace yesterday. New Dawn Game says Villarreal have 3 games before they play us. Oh, I already read that. Sorry, you guys. Again, more coffee. I need it. All right, let's see. Oh, there were 750 Slavia fans in the stadium. See, you guys, okay. So this is why I'm telling you, I couldn't have done a watch along yesterday because I heard the Slavia fans, but I was so focused on what we were doing and the fact that I was physically almost sick because I was so afraid that we were going to bottle it that I kind of heard the fans, but I didn't care enough to even mention it or think about it. So, I was very focused on us, but I heard them and I was like, are there fans or is that coming through the speakers? What is that? So weird. Yeah, and it definitely didn't help him out, did it? Yeah, AK Gunner says Fulham and Everton before that first game. So yeah, I think we'll see. We have enough decent players to be able to rotate and it not look like, oh my gosh, we're playing all kids. But the Everton game before the away leg against Villarreal, I think we need to be really, really careful. We don't want to have another situation that we had with Tierney against Liverpool. I think that's where he has to make some really difficult decisions. And I still think with a rotated squad, we should be able to put in a performance against Everton if that's what Arteta wants. He wants to remain competitive in the league. Yo, good question. Should Xhaka avoid starting league games now? If you mean from the perspective that he'll be playing maybe left back and we'll need him and we don't want him to get injured. If he's not anywhere near the red zone, I don't really see it, but that's a really good question. Maybe play El Neni, and Cedric, to keep him out of the starting lineup altogether, but we play so differently without him, so I don't know. That's a really good question. What do you guys think about Yo-Yo's question? Should Xhaka be rested now because he's so important and he may be playing left back / in the midfield? And he's one of those players that if he's not playing, we really look different. Do we trust Ceballos and Cedric? Do we trust them? I don't know. Or El Neni. Let's see. Just trying to scan through here. Oh, I like this. I like this comment. Smith Rowe is like the oil that slicks our attacking engine. That's a cute comment. I like that. Smith Rowe played so good yesterday. And although I think he's brittle and he needs to get in the gym, this is his first real season playing at the highest level. And really, it's only been since December. And I think he showed such quality. And, I'm careful about saying oh, a certain player has, a certain ceiling or whatever. I think the sky is the limit for Saka and Emil Smith Rowe, if they're healthy. But what I like about Smith Rowe is that he does the dirty work too. He's skillful. He's going to add goals to his game. We already know that. He assists. He runs up and down the field, but he never shirks his defensive duties. He likes to get a tackle in, and I just think we need more players like that. He may not be as fancy or have as good vision as Odegaard, but I just like the player. And I think it's important that we just keep him healthy and continue to play him because he could play so many different positions. He can play out wide. He could play 10. Eventually in his career, he might be able to play up top, as kind of like a false 9 because he's big enough and strong enough, or he'll become strong enough. And I think he could play deeper as a deep 8 or something like that. Emil Smith Rowe is so good. We're so lucky to have these players. Yeah, you guys, make sure that you like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm at about 660 subscribers or something like that. And I know there's a lot of new people here, new names that I haven't seen before. So thank you for being here and being a part of the stream. I really appreciate it. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. On my way to 1,000 subscribers, so hopefully we'll get there soon. But yeah, you guys, I'm really enjoying these streams and talking to you guys, and I appreciate all the support. Let's see. D-Jog says, Pepe is our best dribbler on ball skillful player, needs to play every game. Pepe is one of those types of players where he may look like Bambi on ice, every once in a while, but when he's on, he's on. And he's just a natural footballer that has skills that you can't really teach, and I like the balance of Saka on one side, who's kind of like a repetition, consistent player, with Pepe that's really unpredictable. I think that adds a good chemistry and balance there. And then you have like Emil Smith-Rowe floating in between, and Lacazette doing Lacazette things. So yeah, I think Pepe needs to have more playing time, and I'm hope that he gets it. Maxwell says Thomas can run the midfield by himself. So is that something you guys want to see moving forward? Is just Party just in the middle by himself, kind of like as just a lone DM? Because yesterday we pretty much, and against Sheffield, we played like that. And it really isn't that though, because Chambers kind of bounces in between and plays like a midfielder. So he kind of adds like a little bit of stability there. But, just as a philosophy, Party kind of just sitting in the middle by himself. And then you have Ceballos on one side and Emil Smith-Rowe kind of, in that midfield, just kind of like in as eights going forward. Do you guys like that? I feel like against weaker competition, he can do it. Party can sit in there by himself, but knowing that he's not a knowing that he's not a natural DM, so he's box to box more, and he has the ability to cover large spaces, but he's not the type that I think can just sit in like a Basuma, who we should get in the summer. I feel like against better opposition, it might be a little bit there might not be enough defensive stability there. But against weaker opposition, where we're throwing men forward and we're being more offensive, I think it's perfect, because we kind of saw that against West Ham when we were going after the game. Arteta took Xhaka out and just had Party sitting in, and Odegaard and Emil Smith-Rowe were doing the thing. They're going forward. But I'm afraid against better opposition, like if we were to come up against like Manchester United in the final or something like that, I would like to see more stability in that midfield, somebody else kind of sitting back. But you guys let me know what you think about that. I see some crazy comments in here, you guys. You guys are so funny. Richard says Saka and ESR come from the school of Wenger, so technically gifted. Yeah, I love that. I think it's nice to know that the academy is still churning out some good talent. The Emperor of the Universe says Xhaka has a good engine. He doesn't need to rest, but limit his time to 70 minutes. That's a really good point. Yo-Yo says ESR is one of the few players in the squad who runs pass forward. He's selfless. He has that Ramsey about him, doesn't he? We've been talking about that, like what midfielders get beyond, the forward lines and makes those late runs, and it gets involved in the offense. And that's what we've really missed. If he adds goals to his game, I think Emil Smith-Rowe is going to be really, really good for us. He's already good for us, but adding goals to his game, I think, is going to make him even more pivotal to our success. Pepe, the drunken master. What does that mean? What does that mean? I think I'm laughing because I'm like, the drunken master. You mean he looks drunk when he dribbles? Like, what's up? Richard says we need to give credit to the BFG and all these young kids we produce. I mean, yeah, there's so many good young players coming through. The key is being able to get them on longer term contracts and keep them here with us a little bit longer, like we've done with Balogun. But yeah, Murder Soccer is doing a pretty good job there, and hopefully it continues. What I'd like to see is the evolution of the academy, and getting some chemistry between the academy and the first team, and having a system that we play in the first team that is mirrored in the academy. So when players come from the academy into the first team, they already kind of know the deal. That I think is the evolution of getting those two things in sync. so we have a little bit of continuity there from the beginning. Oh man. Brady says death row. Wow. Cool. That's a cool name. Looks like a player that could get into the Real Madrid team. Ceballos does not. I don't know. I don't even want to think about him being at Real Madrid. But Ceballos, that's such an interesting, I don't think we should bring him in permanently. I don't really care how good he plays up into the end of the season. We saw that he played really well after lockdown, then fell off of a cliff at the beginning of the season. So Ceballos, he's in such a difficult position, being he's 24, which isn't young, it's pretty much going into the prime of your footballing career, still being sent out on loan, probably knowing that Arsenal's not going to take up the option to bring you in permanently. I think that's, should be off of the table at this point. And knowing you're probably not going to get into the Euro squad for Spain has to be a difficult position for him. I feel bad for him. Matthew says Saka and ESR are very versatile. Who knows what other talents the other youngsters have? Yeah, they are very versatile, and we'll see with Balogun soon, and hopefully Aziz, because he's starting to make the bench, which is nice. Let's see. Yo-Yo says Party's fitness issues means it should depend on game state whether we can mirror City's Fernandinho. Yeah, for sure. I think it's really difficult for me to see him in that role if we're not in a position of dominance in the game. I would not play him like that in any sort of game where we could get ran over in midfield. The only time we don't get ran over in midfield, or it's not a really difficult midfield battle, is when a team sits in and we're just the outright better team. So I think that this is a really good point. And personally, I'd like us to bring in an actual DM that can sit in. And then we rotate, with that person and Thomas Partey and, whoever else is our midfield options. But I think we need to leave that to next season. I really just think it's too risky at this moment. Abdallah says, Jess, do you think Arteta is the man to take Arsenal back to Champions League football? I mean, do I think he's the man to take us? Here's the thing. I think that he wants to play football the right way. And the philosophy that he has is something that I can get behind. Whether or not the results will be good enough for him to keep the job long term, that's yet to be determined. I would like to think that he could win 2 games against Villarreal and whoever we would end up playing in the final to get us there. But in terms of what we've done in the league, he's left a lot to be desired, and it's been a very underwhelming season, in terms of us qualifying for Europe. We're so far off the pace for just Europa League qualification, let alone Champions League. So if he can cut corners and get there, at the end of the season through the Europa League, I think that that's a really good step. But, we have a long way to go with Arteta. So let's see. But I like what he's doing, but the results just need to improve. And our league, performances are just not good enough for me. I need us to be a lot higher, and even if he wins the Europa League, I still, would expect that next season for us to be closer to 4th place, in and around comfortably in the top 6. Let's see. Boo Boo Baba says ESR is great for us, but probably a little overrated. He is nowhere near the England squad, which is telling. He's 19 years old, and this is his first time really playing at the top level. He played, in and out at Huddersfield because of injury. So I don't think him being nowhere near the England squad is indicative of his talent or what he can do for Arsenal moving forward. They have a lot of talent, Maddison, Grealish, Mount, Declan Rice. There's a lot of talent in the England squad at the moment that I don't really think that if you're not in and around that squad at 19 years old, that means that you're not, that you're overrated. I really don't think that, especially because he's really only been playing for Arsenal since December. So I have to disagree with that a little bit. I think that I think ESR, is going to be in and around that squad at some point. Southgate even talked about him and said that he'll get his chance eventually. He's already on Southgate's radar. So yeah. And just think about players like Calvert-Lewin and Ollie Watkins. There are players that Calvin Phillips that are a little bit older than Smith Rowe and are just now getting a sniff in that team. So I think it's just about time and being at the right place in the right time. And it might not be Smith Rowe's time yet, but I think Smith Rowe has all the qualities to be a part of that England squad eventually if he keeps working hard and he stays healthy. Opruram Philam says, when will Balogun start playing? I don't know. I mean, he made a little cameo yesterday, which I think is a good sign, basically that, now that you're going to stay long-term, we're going to give you minutes. I read something this morning that he's been given assurances of first team football. So that means that, I hope that means that he won't be going out on loan and that we'll see him maybe towards the end of the season. We have games against Brighton and Newcastle and who else? Fulham. And there's some other teams too, Crystal Palace, that we may be able to, if we get further along in this Europa League, use him in some of these games, maybe after we have the game won or whatever. Let's just, let's give it time. I can already see that if Arteta doesn't start playing him, there's going to be a little bit of a frustration, but let's just give it time. And I would expect to at least see him next season, especially like in cup games and stuff like that. But I'm excited to see him play. I really, really am. Yo-Yo, no. Yo-Yo says, Arteta clearly likes Danny. I expect him to remain at the club despite him being unreliable. What do you guys think about that? Do you think Arteta would try to sign him permanently? I don't think there's an option for another loan. And wouldn't it be better use of our funds to put whatever we have, towards Odegaard? Unless there's some money I don't know about, I would not spend that on Danny Ceballos at this point. Yeesh. That's crazy. I would not do that. Finnan says, I like what Arteta is doing, but needs the right players and backing from the club. We'll see this summer. Backing to me means at least getting the creative midfielder situation sorted out, the right back sorted out, a left back cover sorted out, bringing Saliba back. I know that's not backing, but bring him back. And then seeing what we can do with center midfield and striker. I think striker situation is pretty much solidified. I would not be surprised if Lacazette stayed another year so that we could put off having to make that decision, right away. But something needs to be done in center midfield. I think we're light. And like I've just kind of said, I don't think Danny Ceballos is giving us enough. And Elneny leaves a little bit to be desired as well in that position. So if you have Xhaka and you bring in somebody like, I know this is so far-fetched. Why am I even thinking this at this point? I would like to see us bring in Odegaard and Basuma, but I'm living in dreamland right now. I'm just high off of the game yesterday. I don't even know why I'm saying these things, but backing is at least the creative midfielder, left back cover, and right back. If he gets those things, let's see where he is come December. Dev says, sometimes I feel like Arteta is too controlling. He needs to allow the players to express themselves at times, needs a balance of control and freedom. I think the freedom comes when you've gained his trust. When we played against Manchester City the first time this season, I noticed that a lot of the other players were kind of stuck in their positions and didn't look like they had a lot of freedom. But Saka has always had the ability to do what he wanted on the field. And I think that's because Arteta trusts him, not only from a positional and discipline standpoint, but from a technical ability standpoint. He's the type of player that Arteta trusts to be able to carry out the instructions. And I think we're seeing that some other players are getting that same freedom, that same trust from Arteta, like Emile Smith-Rowe. Odegaard has that as well. Pepe has that when he's out there. So I think it comes with time. I think when Arteta first came in, he didn't trust that team at all. So he put them in positions where they could do the least amount of damage. And over time, they've been given a little bit more license to do things, outside of maybe the structure. Willian has no freedom whatsoever. I think that speaks volumes to whether or not Arteta trusts him. So I think it's going to come with trust, getting better quality players inside and then being able to carry out what he wants will give us more freedom moving forward. But I can't blame Arteta for being very strict with certain players because they're just not good enough. So you have to give them very strict instructions and tell them you can only pass this way, you can only pass that way, because you don't want them really thinking on their own because they're just not good enough. Let's see. Abdallah says, big up to you, Jess. You speak sense and give proper analysis on Arsenal. I'm a Chelsea fan, but I could listen to you talk about football all day. Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, I know you guys are probably excited right now because you're playing well and Tuchel's doing a really good job. So congratulations to you guys, all that kind of stuff. And take care of Mason Mount for me. I think he's a really good player and he's one of your best players. So I hope you guys appreciate him now because, a couple weeks ago, he wasn't getting the same praise that he's getting now, was he? Let's see. Yo-Yo says, Southgate has his favorites and lacks a playing identity and philosophy. Yeah, I think we could do like a whole podcast on Southgate. A.D. Boothroyd he's also going to be leaving the England setup at the end of the season or whatever. He's gone, so I think there's a conversation to be had about the England management situation. Are these coaches able to get the most out of this golden generation of talent that you guys have? I'm American, so obviously it's like, why do you care? But ultimately, because I watch the Premier League, I want to see certain players, especially if our players are involved, do well, on the national, kind of like at a national level. And I just think that the talent in England is so good, but the accomplishments are not really adding up to that. And I think the coaching might have something to do with it. Southgate does have his favorites. All managers have their favorites, but I think my issue is more about playing identity and philosophy, as you've said, Yo-Yo. What is the playing style? And does England need to play with the double pivot? At the under 21s level and also at the senior level, they're playing with the double pivot when they have so much quality going forward. So do they actually need to play with a back three and a double pivot to be successful? I don't really know. But that's just kind of my thoughts on that. Velvishwan says, Velvishwan, if you guys don't know, is a Liverpool fan. And he says, give us Balogun and we give you Keita, Firmino, Ox, and Origi. No, thanks. I don't want those players. I mean, nah. Keita, no. Ox, been there, done that. Origi, no thanks. Firmino is class. I rate him very highly, but no. No thanks. Matthew D'Souza says, Jess, why are you streaming on 2 channels? I was entering comments on BG and then I realized that you were reading them from your channel. So basically, when I first started in this whole YouTube thing, I started off on just the Bearded Gooners channel. He was very nice to allow me to be on his platform. And as I started getting more comfortable and I started to grow a little bit, I decided that I wanted to grow my own channel, but I also stream to his channel as well. So I still work with him. We're supposed to be doing player ratings, but our schedules haven't been able to align lately. So I still work with BG and his channel is great. If you don't watch his stuff, you should. And so I just stream to both channels, because a lot of people that are on that channel watch my stuff as well. So I just stream to both for now. We'll see if that changes in the future, but yeah. And if you put comments on the Bearded Gooners channel, I also answer them there, so I'm a part of the BG family as well. So that's why I stream on both if it's confusing. There's about 70 of you guys watching right now. Make sure that you like the video and subscribe to, the channel. I love it. This is so much fun. Newman says, I don't care about England and I'm English. I hear that a lot, that it's pretty much club over country for a lot of, people in England, so I get that. Bobby the Brave says people have been getting on Party's case lately, but you can see why Arteta wanted him so much more over Awar. We need a quality partner. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. Um, from my knowledge, Arteta actually wanted Awar more. So the options were Party, Awar, and as the window kept going, and I think that our financial situation became more clear, it became Awar or Party, instead of both. And I think Arteta wanted Awar. And I think the reason for that is because of what eventually ended up happening at the beginning of the season, which was Ozil wasn't going to be added in the squad. And we saw that not having a single creative player in our side was damaging for us at the very beginning of the season. Our form, pre a number 10 and post a number 10 has been significantly different. So I think Arteta's choice really was Awar. That deal was a very difficult deal to get done because a loss was really was really unmoving and very inflexible, and felt like they could get more for Awar than probably what we were offering. And that deal was actually really close to getting done, and it just didn't. So when we got to the end of the transfer window, it was kind of like do or die. We knew what the asking price or the release clause was for Thomas Partey, so we ended up doing that on deadline day. Some people will say that was because they wanted to save the window and not look like they bottled it. I think it was just because they knew that they always had the opportunity to get Partey. They decided to try to go after Awar, and when Awar didn't work out, they went to their plan B, which was Partey. Both profiles needed to come in the summer, but we were unable to get both at the same time. I think if you didn't have Partey, you'd have issues. And if you didn't have a creative player, we obviously had issues. So we've kind of fixed that now with having Odegaard and Emile Smith-Rowe. But I think Partey has been criticized a lot because when you pay a $45 million release clause, you expect that player to come in and completely change everything about this team. You buy a world-class player and you're sitting in ninth. So it's automatically like, okay, I want to connect the dots. Getting this player has not helped us at all, because we're in ninth. That's the easy way to connect the dots. Realistically, adaptation needs to be taken into consideration. The fact that he has not been able to be fit needs to be taken into consideration. And the fact that you have to look at the type of team that he was playing in and the system that he was playing in under Simeone. They've been playing that system for forever, and he was playing a very systemized role there, and we are trying to play more expansive under Arteta now. So I think there's a lot of factors to why Partey has been an underwhelming signing up until this point. And maybe for some people, he's been a flop. But I think if you've been able to watch him just from a perspective of when he's on the field, what has he been able to give us? I think that you can see that next season, if he's fit, he'll be a game changer for us. Not every player comes in and has the same effect as Bruno Fernandes. I know that that's the benchmark. You want to buy a player and you want him to change everything about that team. But I think ultimately, United has more quality than us, and that comes into, the conversation when we talk about Bruno changing the team. They just kind of needed another piece. We're like 4 pieces away, from that type of, signing, being able to come in and change everything. So I understand the frustration and the criticism, but ultimately I think Thomas Partey was the right signing, and I couldn't be happier to have that player in our team. And sometimes when they say Thomas Partey, when we're playing, the announcers, I just can't believe we have this type of player in our team. It's crazy. Let's see. Matthew asks, Jess, do we need to move Chocolate Ritz on and get a new goalkeeper? Move Chocolate Ritz on. Chocolate Riss. Is that Riss? Let me know if that's what you mean, like it breaks easy or something. Are you guys talking about when he does like this and it goes into the goal? That's happened like twice. I think we've talked about this kind of before. I think Leno is a good goalkeeper. I think there's levels. Obviously you have your Allisons and Edersons and Oblaks and those types of your Neuers up here. And then Leno kind of falls in that level right below. He's definitely not a world-class goalkeeper. But I also think that, it's just difficult because we got so used to Emmy really got a purple patch at the end of that of our season, helping us win the FA Cup. So Leno is always going to be compared to how we felt when Emmy was in the team, which I think I kind of agree with in terms of, I think Emmy made me feel more comfortable because of his presence, and Leno doesn't have the same presence. But that being said, I don't think we need to invest in a new goalkeeper because it's going to cost a lot of money. Bringing in a goalkeeper that's going to really significantly take us to another level is going to be difficult, and it's going to be very expensive. So I think Leno is fine for now. I think we need to focus on individual errors, being more clinical in front of goal, bringing in a creative midfielder, permanently like Odegaard and things like that before we start looking at a goalkeeper. All right, let's look and see what else you guys have to say. Yep, you met Riss. Yeah, yeah. He's had some wrist breaking, boof. I don't know how to explain it, but you know what I mean. It's like boof, and it goes into the roof of the goal. That's been horrendous the last couple of weeks. Yeah. You guys, I think I'm actually going to end it there. I think this has been a good stream. We've been going for about an hour. We talked about, our upcoming games. We talked about Unai Emery and what to expect from him. We'll do obviously more on that, a little bit later on. But I'm going to have the Touchy Gooners coming on Monday to do post-match after Fulham. So that should be a fun show. If you guys don't follow them, you should. They're super funny. Good guys. And I did a show with them, so they're going to be on here with me talking about Fulham and that sort of thing. And make sure you guys obviously like the video, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. I know I'm bottling the outro type of thing, but it's just, I'm so tired. Like I'm like so sleepy, so yeah, but I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.